Hi, I'm Lars Wikman, and this is Underjord. So, I wanted to let you join me on my commute to the office this morning. Wife and kids have already left to preschool, and I figured I could tell you a little bit about my trip to ElixirConf EU. I brought my entire family to that trip, so 2 kids, the wife, a couple of in-laws, and we had a grand old time. My ElixirConf EU trip started a little bit before the actual conference. So I went to the Elixir meetup that happened before. That was a good time. So it was hosted by Bounce, and it's the Lisbon Elixir meetup. Some good people took me out for wine, beer. Well, first we went to pizza, then we went for wine and beer in a park, which is apparently how you do in Lisbon, which is quite nice. And welcome into my office. It was a good time. We sat around chatting for a bunch of it, and while I was recognized for some of my video, most people didn't know who I was, which was kind of neat. And then we had... I'm new at this. Let's see. That ended up being a late evening with a lot of good conversation, mostly. So, then we had the conference. ElixirConf EU was a super great time. The day of the conference, I was there quite early. I am heading from my hotel going to ElixirConf. So we'll see how this goes. But you get to tag along for the short walk around the corner. It's been a good time so far. So it's a very nice city. Slippery cobblestones though, so I might just go head over Tea Kettle here. I'll be trying to film some things while I'm here, sort of capture a sense of the conference. We'll see how that goes. I've never done live event coverage before. Oh, right. Day before the conference started, that was the speaker dinner. Now that was a fun time. I've actually written a blog post about my ElixirConf experience, and I think I referred to it as talking to fish in a barrel. Wherever you turned during the speaker dinner, you were talking to someone that's about as excited about Elixir as you are, which is not like the common thing for me. So that was super exciting, super fun. Will not hesitate to give a talk again, almost entirely just to be at that dinner, if nothing else. I ended up talking to Last Cobra Kai and Matt Trudell and Jeffrey Matthias and Guillaume Debon. That's the PhD student. I think it's PhD. The student doing research on a type system for Elixir. He's super nice, super friendly. Really enjoyed talking to him. As someone who's not super keen on having a type system, I feel like we are in pretty good hands. He seems to have a good attitude about it. He seems to like the language that we're working with. Yeah, so that's an aside. Yes, first day of the conference. Today I am speaking. I'm speaking at, I think 5 p.m. Last talk of the day. And what was the other talk on at the same time? It was the type system talk. Guillaume, the very friendly French guy. Of course, I did not get the bigger audience. Even if you don't like type systems, even if you don't want a type system, the type system talk is the talk you should be attending, because either you're worried or you're enthusiastic and excited. I accidentally ended up looking at the Hoover stats for sort of people indicating attendance. So when people build their agenda, that surfaced to us. I think there was about 300 people signed up to go to his, which is not all of the people that actually go. And there were like 88 for mine. Oh, tough act to compete with. But I think giving my talk, I think I had more than 100 people in attendance. I got the big room for whatever reason. I don't think the people planning there necessarily knew which talk was more exciting. And I think my talk went well. I'll try to leave some nuggets from that in this video as well. This is the reception area, registration area. We're just getting started, so still pretty sparse, but I've heard that there will be about 580 maybe attendees in person, and I think we'll go up to about 800 or so with the virtual ones. So that's kind of cool. There's gonna be a lot of conference going on. We are heading down to the keynote, and this is apparently the room I'll be speaking in, and also a lot of other people. This is the coffee. The coffee place. It's a nice environment. Really good starting keynote. Jose does not disappoint. Very soon, first talk that is not a keynote for the day. Haven't decided which one I'm going to yet. So I was lugging around a camera on a gimbal. The gimbal also broke, which was kind of fun. Not fun, really, but I did a bit of recording. I'll see if I cut to some of that. Met Marcel Falle.
Marcel Falle. I'm originally from Germany, and I'm living in Spain right now. Just came over here from Valencia.
You might not be familiar with him. He's probably one of the most enthusiastic followers of Elixir work.
I think it's awesome. He solved all my problems. We built a little game, and it got a little popular and went haywire, and OTP was the best thing I could find to solve all my problems, and it did. I stayed with it ever since. That was in 2017.
Super great guy. Has been a digital friend, is now a physical friend. That's been the very neat thing about this conference. I have gotten to know a ton of people over the last 4 years that I've been doing Elixir and being kind of public about it. And for example, last Code Beam, I met Frank Hunleth for the first time in person, like the nurse guy. A bunch of other people. This conference was even more of that. So many people that I've only spoken to digitally, and people I've interacted with a bunch in the machine learning Slack of the EEF and stuff that I got to say hi to and thank for their help and all of that good stuff. Weirdly, but super fun, and thank you to everyone who did. People came up to me and told me about their experience with my stuff. That's wild. Kind of freaky. People actually watch my stuff and they take something away from it, and that's really satisfying. I enjoy that. This was the first time I've been out in a way where I could actually get that kind of direct feedback. Some people email me, some people leave comments. I really appreciate those. It's a bit of a different thing to have someone come up and say that, oh, your stuff is kind of what I watch when I'm feeling that everything is difficult or when I'm feeling down about programming. It's like, wow, that matters. that really gets to me.
There are so many opportunities to talk to people and do interesting things, and you have to balance between socializing and making connections and going to interesting talks. I just missed probably 2.5 talks just meeting people from the community.
I'm Güngör Koçak, originally from Turkey, but currently living in Berlin.
I'm Benjamin Milde, and I'm from Munich, Germany.
My name is Elizabeth Nyambura. I come from Kenya.
Why do you care about Elixir?
I care about Elixir because of two main things. First is I can really feel the computer science behind it and the architecture and how it.
For me, Elixir is basically a culmination of stateful processes, but also a good modeling of pure functional code, which makes things a lot easier.
Brought up to the pragmatic approach with the problem domain.
I get to code more simple things where you'll say hello world, and I thought, oh gosh, this could be really, really nice stuff.
It makes many things accessible to me. Imagine AI with recent Bumblebee, Nurse for IoT.
Usually stateful stuff in other languages is a pain in the butt.
As an indie developer, I feel much more powerful, and I don't need to rely on some kind of the bigger cloud services or the big clusters of the different services in that sense. Yeah.
And it's absolutely worth it. But I would also love to see more talks. I have no idea how I will manage this. But yeah, the hallway track, it's a real thing. It's probably the most important thing, honestly. So if you're going to conferences, don't forget to actually talk to people, because that's kind of the greatest part.
I was also slightly nervous during this entire day. A lot of stuff I wanted to do, lots of people I wanted to meet and talk to, but also, perhaps more importantly, I had a talk to give at the end of the day. Cut to it.
So, I posit in my theory that to make cool software, you need to take an input or generate some kind of input, and then you need to transform it. Then you need to produce a different but also interesting output. Now, this can describe almost any piece of software, so we need to take it a bit further. It will also need to produce an emotional reaction in a person. So surprise, delight, anger, happiness. But that's not quite enough. Not all pieces of software that cover this ground qualifies. So what does qualify as cool software? No one that I've heard of picks up the guitar and goes, I want to play dependable chords in a repeatable and reliable fashion. That's my goal. People pick up the guitar because they want to play a cool song or make music. And learning how to play an instrument takes years of active practice. Anything that serves as motivation to keep going and keep practicing has a lot of value in that context. Programming is the absolute very same. It takes years of practice for the skill to become effortless. But why do that in Elixir? So I find Elixir to be kind of exceptional at dealing with inputs, transformations, and outputs. So you can do all the normal ones. You can do like APIs, and you can do your web hooks, and you can do your files and your web forms. But since I've started with Elixir, I've also explored things I never thought I'd poke around with. So input events on Linux, like raw, low-level input events, USB HID devices, chatbots as UI, hardware with sensors and buttons. And it all follows the same pattern. It all uses the same abstractions. For output, we have been given a great gift. We have been given live view. It's hard to communicate the difference between the past before live view and how much less work it is to just communicate something and build a live web UI that reacts to new information. All it takes, some familiarity with HTML, CSS, and usually a sprinkling of JavaScript. So where does membrane come into the picture? It struggles with this one. Slide forward. Thank you, Whisper. Because I bought a Elgato Stream Deck Plus. I don't know if you've seen these devices. You get 8 keys that are also programmable LCDs. And you get this LCD touch strip that you also get control over. And then you get 4 knobs that you can do twisty things with. So control your volume, your lights, whatever. And they also click. So you get all this stuff and you can control it from Elixir, or at least you can if you're stupid enough to. There was not a library originally, okay? And the default software does not support Linux. There are some open source options, but of course I decided to build my own. Is you grab a FFmpeg and you go and Google Smith your way to this command line piece of wizardry that you just paste into your app and never touch again. It's essentially write-only software. You can do things like measure audio levels and indicate them, or even creating waveforms. Actually, we could bring out the fancy waveform. No, the fancy waveform. Thank you, Whisper. you can do to deal with some really messy formats, particularly human speech comes to mind, and turning that with some reasonable degree of accuracy into text. But there are other kind of utility models that we sometimes take for granted and sometimes don't know about. To kind of crop in on a face in an image, which can be really nice. Or you can play around with adding filters to landmarks and faces. Or you can bootstrap your surveillance state, which can also be, I guess, neat. Actually, if I lean back a little bit, I might actually find my face. Hey! Surveillance state. We're getting machine learning, also well abstracted, and without knowing any of the math and without understanding the models too much. We're doing live web UI, also well abstracted, with a ridiculously small amount of code. And we get communication and coordination between these things with a kind of high-level standard method. We have message passing, beam things. Fundamentally, this makes hard things easier, which pushes the boundaries of what is cool and what is challenging. So if you try to do something the industry standard way, you risk lowering yourself to that standard. That's not really that cool, is it? Let's look at what this presentation is actually doing. Let's unpack this presentation a bit. No, whisper, come on. Slide forward. I could not script this. Screen. I'm actually doing a stupidly complex variant in enabling and changing the waveform. So if I say disable waveform, it goes away. And because of who I am as a person, it's not just a flag that's getting set. I actually recompiled the module that renders the SVG, because we can do that on the beam, okay? We can change our entire application at runtime, and I think we should experiment with that more. Now, but we measure those audio levels, we produce the waveform. We also do live transcription, poorly. I hope that, if anything, you take away from this talk is just a sense of possibilities. There are a lot of cool inputs out there. There's a surprising amount of potential transformations these days. And there are a lot of ways to produce an interesting output. And the trick after that is just creatively bashing things together over and over again, building a muscle of creativity and creation until cool becomes effortless. Thank you for your time.
I'm happy with how it went. People said nice things after. People said it was exciting, that it inspired them to try some things. And that's pretty much what I wanted it to do. It was not a talk about this is how you use membrane. You do the pipeline and you put the element before the element, and then you do the thing. It was definitely intended to be more. I think this is how you practice building creative things and make it cool and make it interesting and keep it interesting so that you keep practicing. This is how you get good. That was kind of what I was going for. And the talk is up, so you can actually go on YouTube and watch it. There's one particularly funny bit because machine learning, but yeah. And I had a lovely supporting team there. I had friends there. I got to make friends with some people that I was just acquainted with. People came and asked me for advice. I think I made some business leads. We'll see if any of those pan out. You never know with these things. Day one of the conference was very, very good. Then we went for ramen after. Ramen is nice. Then we got a lead on a party on a rooftop after. So we went there, had some free drinks. That was nice. A rooftop in Lisbon is not a bad place to be. Then the rooftop closed, so we went to the bar. And then I made the choice to go to a nightclub with some younger people. I left early. I went home. I knew I had to go to sleep, and the kids don't let you sleep forever. I hit the pillow about 3 a.m. I was kicked awake by my daughter at 6 a.m. Then I convinced her to snooze with me until 7. She's a 3-year-old, so the kicking is kind of an instinct, let's say. It's part of the package. Well, so I slept my grand total of 3-ish hours, plus some snoozing. Then breakfast. Then I'm decidedly more low energy today. The after event hallway track was something to behold. Fun was had. I'm tired. I'm missing the keynote. Nightclub was a poor choice, but you remember your poor choices, and sometimes you need to make them. Otherwise, you don't have any fun. I wouldn't say I regret it. I would say I would probably not do that way again. So day 2 was a little bit rough. Still got to talk to some good people. Had a lot of fun. And over time, the day kind of perked up. All in all, it's just a really good conference. We had a ton of people show up. There's like 600 physical attendees and maybe 200 additional remotely, which I saw someone post that this was bigger than RubyConf, which is like, oh, sure. No, it is not a competition, but it is interesting for a language that kind of bootstraps off of Ruby in terms of maybe, I don't know, call it culture, to actually have a conference be about the size of RubyConf. That's an achievement. That's progress. Oh, yeah, talks. So, first day, I think my favorite talk was probably Vadnais, not Hot Dog Revisited. Yeah, that was a good one. That was, in an interesting way, it covered a lot of the same ground as mine, like membrane and machine learning and live view and stuff. It was a very different talk than mine. When the speaker has a writer, or rather has a speaker request about what they need to present, and it includes 3 different hot dogs. Yeah, that's gonna be a good one. Like most people ask for HDMI. No, I need 3 different hot dogs. Other talks that made an impression. I think Benjamin Milde, Lost Cobra Kai's talk was probably quite good. I was not feeling at the best there. It was quite early-ish on the second day, so I had to bail. But I think that was a good talk. I missed most of the Electric SQL talk, but I think I have already heard most of what James has to say. I was mostly doing the hallway track, so I was mostly talking to people, listening to people, and having conversations. Sorry about the sniffles. It's pollen season. Pollen. There were a few talks about membrane. So one of the last talks of the day was membrane. It was an interesting talk. And then Chris wrapped up with a live view keynote. Checkboxes. It was a good talk. It was a wild one. It's interesting. He's kind of a compelling speaker, and like the topic is engaging when you can sit down for an hour and look at code at the end of a 2-day conference. I had no idea I had that in me at that point, but it worked. You should listen to Jim Freese's intro of Chris. It's a crime, but I thought he kind of pulled it off. What else? Yeah, after Electric SQL people pulled together a bunch of people to go for good beer. We got to spend some time with some people there. Found out the Gothenburg University Library uses Elixir a bunch. That was interesting. Yeah, just had a bunch of good conversations over beer, and then I went with the team and some friends, new and old. People we knew from a previous code beam. We brought Marcel. We brought our new buddy Peter Ulrich, new friend Benjamin Milde, and we went for a lovely dinner. And that was kind of most of the end of that day. A few of us did go out for a couple of drinks. Nothing heavy, nothing hard. Very mild, all things considered. And then I had a couple additional lovely days in Lisbon, and then we went home. And it's nice. I've really missed conferences. and I haven't been to a ton. I really enjoy this one, and I'm planning to go to ElixirConf US, which will be a heck of a trip. It's like a little bit further. Might be going to Codebeam Berlin, I think so. I might be going to the Swedish conference Dev as well, we'll see. That one is not about Elixir, but maybe I can infect them. Yeah, ElixirConf EU. It was a blast. Thank you to everyone who talked to me and everyone I met. It's a super good time. And if you didn't go, I hope you got to attend virtually, or otherwise at least look at the talks, maybe read my conference report. I think that's more coherent than this. I think I just want to encourage like going to conferences, because it is a very different thing than kind of engaging with the community on the internet. It's just good time. It's meeting your peers, meeting your people that you sort of gel with. Can't recommend it enough. I have a bunch more conference going planned, and I hope you consider going to some as well. It's expensive. It can be expensive. So I get it. If you can. All right. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. Stay curious out there.